A big hello to you for tuning in to our talk today, which is all about looking after yourself in the holidays. I'm Emily, and I'm a wellbeing practitioner here at Centre 33. Let's start with a bit of an overview of what we will be covering in this talk today. So we're going to start by exploring the impact that the winter season and weather can have on our mood, energy levels, and behaviour, and share with you some ways to look after ourselves. We will then talk about Christmas, which we know can be difficult for many people, and how the festive period might affect people's mental health. Linked in with that, we will explore the media's role in promoting specific messages about Christmas and the holidays. We then talk a bit about the New Year period and the pressures of celebrations. Next, we will share some self-care tips and strategies, things you can do to look after yourself during this time. And then, last but not least, we will share places you can go to for support, mainly services that are open over the Christmas holidays, as we know that this can often be a difficult time for finding help. So to start then, we're going to talk about the impact of winter. Studies show that changes in the weather and seasons can have a real impact on how people feel and affect their mental health. With the days getting shorter and darker and the weather getting colder and wetter, you may notice a change in your mood, energy levels, and motivations. You may also see changes in your eating and sleeping habits. These are some quite common changes that can occur. These changes are noticeable but mild for some people, and they can make adjustments and manage day-to-day activities, but for others, they may be pretty significant changes. The impact on mood and everyday life might be pretty substantial. In those cases, that could indicate a mental health issue, such as seasonal affective disorder. We would encourage people who may be experiencing these more considerable changes to speak to their GP to explore things further and find the appropriate support. So, to explain in a bit more detail, the change in light levels during winter can affect our mood and energy because it affects the hormonal balance in our brains. Our bodies follow a natural sleep and wake cycle that certain hormones regulate. For example, melatonin gradually builds up in our bodies throughout the day, particularly when dark, to encourage us to feel tired at nighttime. Serotonin is released in the mornings, triggered by daylight, to wake us up and help us feel more alert. So, look at the green cycle first. If we have less exposure to sunlight in winter, notably darker mornings, our brain isn't sure when to wake up and continues to produce high melatonin levels, so the hormone associated with tiredness increases. This hormonal increase can result in us feeling more tired than usual and perhaps finding it harder to get up in the mornings. However, if we're not careful, this can become a vicious cycle. If we feel tired and less energized throughout the day, we may be less likely to go outside actively and therefore get less sunlight. Secondly, looking now at the orange diagram, when days are darker or overcast or spend less time outdoors, our brain produces less serotonin. Serotonin not only helps us feel awake and alert, but also plays a part in balancing our moods. So reduced levels of this mean that we might feel more down or flat than usual. This change might also become a vicious cycle because feeling low reduces our overall motivation to engage in activities that boost serotonin. The good news is that understanding how the weather can impact our mood leaves us in an excellent position to break these cycles actively, and I'm going to talk you through some ways that you can do this on the next slide. Step 1, getting daylight. Getting daylight all year round is really important for the production of hormones and vitamins in our bodies. As mentioned, but it's especially important in winter as we have less of it during the day, and the often wet or cold weather might make us want to stay indoors more. So, if you feel like your mood and energy levels do change in winter, we would encourage you to make sure you're getting enough daylight, particularly in the mornings. That could mean going for a walk outside, but it could also be sitting in your garden or sitting by a window if there's daylight shining through. Step 2, keeping active. Exercise has all sorts of benefits for us, not just physically, but mentally too. It can help us to release difficult emotions like frustration, anger, stress, or anxiety. It can leave us feeling energized and motivated afterwards. Exercise also releases pleasure hormones such as dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, which make us feel good. An after effect of exercise is often feeling more relaxed. Step 3, healthy diet. Eating a balanced and healthy diet is not only important for our physical health, it's important for our mental health and energy levels. So reflecting on what we eat and perhaps making some healthy changes to our diets can be a helpful way to look after ourselves. It's also important to make sure we're drinking enough water, which people may overlook more in the winter when it's colder. Step 4, sleep. A common change that can occur in winter, particularly if people's moods have shifted too, is that people find themselves sleeping for longer, finding it harder to get up in the morning, and perhaps taking naps during the afternoon or the evening. Being aware of how our sleep pattern changes in winter and trying to maintain a regular sleep routine can be helpful, particularly as good quality sleep is so vital for our bodies and minds to recharge, repair, restore, and protect. We would also encourage people to avoid napping where possible. We know this can be trickier in winter when it gets darker earlier and if you're low in energy, but napping disrupts our sleep cycles, making it harder for us to get good quality sleep overnight. Step 5, routine. Creating and sticking to a regular routine can be helpful for our mental health generally, but particularly during the winter if the change in weather and darkness is affecting how we feel. We'll be talking a bit more about this and how to keep a routine in the holidays later on. Step 6, keeping in touch. The darker, colder days in winter might mean that we're spending time with people less in the evenings or outside, and COVID, in addition, might be making spending time with people even harder. If we're also not feeling great on top of that, we might not want to reach out to friends or family and might not feel up to socializing. It's fair enough if you want some time to yourself and it's about doing what's best for you. But we know that having regular contact with the right people can make a big difference to people's mood, enjoyment, and energy levels. So think about ways that you can keep in touch with friends and family this winter. Again, we'll be talking a bit more about this later on. Step 7, nice activities. Planning in nice activities can give us things to look forward to in the winter and over the holidays, and can help boost our mood and motivation levels. It can also help us to engage in self-care, exercise, and spending time with others. Think about what you enjoy doing and try to plan in a few activities each week, including a combination of indoor and outdoor activities may be helpful so that they aren't all weather dependent. So now we're going to move on to talking about Christmas and the different ways that people experience it. Christmas means different things for different people. It's a cultural or religious tradition for many in this country. Still, not everyone celebrates it and not everyone looks forward to it. The reality of Christmas is that while Christmas can be a fun and enjoyable time for some people, it isn't positive for everyone. Problems don't go away just because it's Christmas. The holiday time itself can be a source of stress and pressure for many people and a wide variety of reasons. Some people don't have anyone to celebrate Christmas with, making it a really tough and lonely time of year. Others might have to spend Christmas with people they don't like and who negatively impact their mental health. Those who have recently experienced grief or loss will likely find Christmas a really painful time. Some people will find the cost of Christmas really stressful and worry about paying their bills for the month, let alone affording any festive food or presents. Some people have a problematic relationship with food or alcohol and therefore find celebrations like Christmas, when there is so much emphasis on eating and drinking, really stressful or overwhelming. Finally, some people might feel pressure to hide certain aspects of themselves and their identity around other people or pretend that everything is okay. They're happy and enjoying themselves when in fact that isn't the case. Now, these are obviously just a few examples, and there may be many other reasons still. If you can relate to any of these situations, we want to let you know that it's okay if you aren't looking forward to Christmas. It's nothing to feel bad about, and you won't be the only one. Hopefully, some of the tips we will be sharing with you later today can help you look after yourself during this time and get through the holidays. Also, many people in this country don't celebrate Christmas. For those people, Christmas or the holiday period could be challenging for other reasons. For example, people might be experiencing stresses and pressures linked to other cultural and/or religious holidays. They might find it hard to see others celebrating with their friends and family on Christmas, particularly if theirs don't live nearby. They might feel frustrated by how much emphasis is placed upon Christmas over other holidays, for practical reasons such as many services being shut or operating on reduced hours over this time, or because the religious and cultural holidays aren't as widely recognised and celebrated. If anyone here today doesn't celebrate Christmas, in that case, hopefully you will still find the tips and strategies we're going to introduce helpful in other situations. They certainly aren't Christmas specific. We wanted to talk briefly about the impacts of the COVID pandemic on how people are feeling about the holidays. As obviously the pandemic is still ongoing and therefore may really understandably be causing people to worry, you may be feeling uncomfortable about being in larger groups, feeling the loss of loved ones, and feeling worried about restrictions being introduced again and the impact that this could have, not being able to travel and or spend time with the people that you care about, feeling concerned around family finances that may have been impacted due to changes in being able to work. If you can relate to any of these concerns or others not listed, we want you to know that they are perfectly valid. The fact that we are currently living in a global pandemic is really difficult. It has caused so much change, restriction, and loss for many people, particularly for such a long time. It's even harder. We'll be touching on some ways that you might be able to address or manage these difficulties in the holidays in the rest of the talk. The new year can also be a difficult time for people, whether it's feeling pressured to take part in big celebrations, feeling left out of celebrations and lonely, feeling pressure to be happy and have a good time, feeling pressure to drink alcohol or drink large amounts or take other substances, feeling sad that it's the end of the year and what that might represent for you, experiencing difficult feelings about the year ahead. So, to share a few tips with you about how to look after yourself over New Year's Eve and day, we would suggest that you take things one step at a time, Remind yourself that New Year's is just 1 or 2 days like any other. Do what you want to do on the day. Try to resist pressures to take part in things you don't want to do or feel comfortable doing. It's okay to say no to plans. If you are drinking, we would encourage you to be sensible about how much you drink. Try to avoid mixing different types of alcohol, as this can be dangerous. Ensure you're eating food alongside the drink. Drink plenty of water too. The media has a big part to play in how Christmas is represented. Depictions of Christmas often include happy families, a great focus on spending large amounts of money on food, decorations, and presents. Christmas being this really special and magical time of the year, people being really happy and carefree, having a wonderful time. This overrepresentation of Christmas in this way can put large amounts of pressure on people and create high expectations that are hard to live up to. It can also cause people who have Christmases to feel sad, lonely, and dissatisfied. It can also contribute to self-criticism and low self-esteem. Social media can also have an unhelpful effect on our mental health over this time of year. We might see pictures or posts online about how other people spend their time or what presents they receive. We might compare this to the time we're having and feel bad about ourselves. So, some things to remember when it comes to the media. The picture-perfect Christmas that the media portrays rarely exists. It's okay if your Christmas looks different. Most people's do in one way or another. Social media posts are unlikely to be realistic and representative. People often feel pressure themselves to show others that they're having a good day. People are also unlikely to share the things that haven't gone as well. A tip would be to consider taking a break or limiting your use of media that it is unhelpful. When it comes to looking after yourself, one way you can look after yourself over the holidays is to create boundaries for yourself and protect those boundaries with other people. Boundaries are limits around ourselves that protect our well-being and needs. Often, these are around how we would and would not like people to treat us, and what we are and are not prepared to do. Boundaries will look different for different people, and perhaps in different situations too. There's no wrong or right way. Think about what's important for you and your boundaries and try to make sure you protect them over the holidays. For example, by taking time out for yourself or saying no to things you don't want to feel comfortable doing. If you cannot go to a physical safe space when needed, which some people may not do, then creating a safe or comfortable space in your mind might be the next best thing. This activity will talk you through one way of creating this safe space. Then, once you've created it, it's yours to revisit as often as you like. We would suggest creating it in advance of when you might need it and regularly imagining this space to strengthen its positive effects. So the first step is to find a quiet and comfortable place to do this activity where you aren't going to be interrupted. Next, close your eyes. Take a few slow and deep breaths. Imagine a place where you feel calm, happy, and safe. Perhaps somewhere you've been before, or a specific happy memory you have. Somewhere you always wanted to visit, or a place in a fantasy world. Then, when you've got this place in mind, using each of your senses, focus on the place you're in and on what's going on around you. Step 1. What does the place look like? What can you see? What colours, shapes? Are there people or creatures around? 2. What can you hear? Are there any sounds or is it quiet? Are there specific sounds or just background noise? Maybe your favourite music is playing. 3. Now focus on what you can smell. 4. And what you can taste. Are you eating or drinking anything? 5. And lastly, focus on what you can feel. What is it you're sitting, standing, or lying on? Or perhaps you're floating. What textures can you feel around you? How hot or cold is it there? Is there a breeze? Really focus on each of your senses to create a detailed image of this place. Once you've done this, notice the pleasant physical sensations in your body when you're in this happy, safe place. Lastly, give the place a name or a phrase to help you conjure it up in your mind next time. So we wanted to share with you now some other activities which could be helpful to plan in during the holidays. Wellbeing activities are always important to include in your daily or weekly routine, but they can be really important during difficult times. Having a calming bath or warm shower can help you relax. Going for a walk, so we'd already discussed the benefits of daylight, exercise and fresh air. Seeing a friend, distraction, to take your mind off things, fun, positive experience to lift your mood or change of scene. Movies or TV shows, so watching your favourite films or TV shows can give you a break or distraction, chance to make you laugh or smile or feel comforted. Music can have a real influence on mood, so put on your favourite music, a playlist that uplifts you, makes you feel more positive, or gives you a chance to express yourself. Playing with a pet. Pets are known to have positive effects on our well-being, so if you have one, having a cuddle, chat, or play with your pet might help. Social media. As we've already mentioned, consider the impact that social media has on how you feel over the holidays. It may be helpful to turn off notifications or have some time away from it every now and then, or think about which app sites are more helpful and supportive. Hobbies. Doing hobbies is a great way to look after yourself and have some you time. Make sure you plan in time over the holidays to do the things that you enjoy, particularly if you don't have control over other parts of the celebrations. And running errands. Offer to post a letter, go to the corner shop for some milk, go pick up the parcel from your neighbour. Doing little errands over the holidays can give you a break from the festivities and spending time with others, and a moment to yourself. There are 2 relaxation exercises that we wanted to share with you today. They can help calm physical symptoms of anxiety or stress, or take your mind away from worries. The first exercise is all about calm breathing. One way of practicing calm breathing is to draw around one of your hands with the other, and every time you draw up a finger, take a slow, deep breath in. Every time you draw down a finger, take a slow, deep breath out. Some people find it helpful to pause and hold their breath briefly between breathing in and out. Some people like to breathe in through their nose and out through their mouth. It's about finding something which works for you. The next activity is a way of grounding yourself. It is all about refocusing your attention away from the unpleasant symptoms or worries and returning it to the present moment. The main idea behind this is to use your senses and focus on the things you can see, touch, hear, smell, and taste in detail. Some people might want to choose a particular sense to focus on, for example, finding things in the room with a specific colour or shape, or starting with a specific letter. Further, some people find it helpful to go through all 5 of the senses, as you can see on the slide here. Like learning any new skill, these experiences take practice to strengthen their relaxing effects. So we encourage people to practice them regularly, including when they're feeling okay. So they could be something you practice for 5 to 10 minutes first thing in the morning or before you go to bed. Research has consistently shown that routines can play an important role in mental health. Having a regular routine can help you lower stress levels, form good daily habits, take better care of your health, feel more productive, and feel more focused. If we get into the habit of looking after ourselves, this can have a positive impact on our mood and increase the likelihood that we will actually do those things, which can help protect our mental health rather than just acknowledging them as ideas. So this would include sticking to a consistent sleep schedule, making time for a balanced diet, planning to get outside into the daylight, and planning valued activities, all things which have a positive impact on how we feel. We know that it can be harder to keep up routines during the holidays when many people have less structure in their days due to time off school, college, or work. Given the benefits of routines, we would encourage people to adapt their existing routines for the holidays or create new ones to follow. Planning what your day or week might look like in advance can also help remind and encourage you to practice some of the activities and tips we've shared with you today. Again, there's no right or wrong way to create a routine. Some people may find sticking to routines quite easy and they feel able to do lots of activities. Others might find this a bit harder and might find a very structured schedule overwhelming. It's important to find a balance that works for you. If we don't want to put too much pressure on ourselves, that makes us feel stressed or unhappy, and we don't want to set ourselves up to fail. So we would encourage people to start gradually, perhaps with 1 or 2 activities a day, and build up from there. It may also help to think about when suits us best to do them, e.g., this fictional person finds time to go for walks in the morning, but you might find this easier after lunch or around midday. So with this fictional person that you can see here, they're kind of finding a nice balance of activities which are nice. They're finding time to do things by themselves. They're kind of making time to exercise, and they're using daylight in the mornings because that can help them stay more alert throughout the day. There might be problems you encounter over the holidays that you're not sure what to do about or how to get around. And so we wanted to talk you through a method for problem solving. Say, for example, you've got a family member coming over for Christmas who you don't like and who makes unhelpful or critical comments that make you feel bad. Our ideal solution to this problem might be for that person not to visit or for us not to be there when they do. But if that isn't possible, then it might help to think of other ways around this issue. After identifying the problem, the first step to problem solving is to come up with a list of possible solutions, and it can help to strengthen our problem solving mind and make the activity more fun, perhaps to include any and all possibilities no matter how realistic they are. So for this problem, we might come up with this list of possible solutions. Ignore grandma while she's here. Ask mum and dad to uninvite her. Confront her when she says mean things. Make sure I'm not sitting next to her. Ask her to not criticize me and explain that it makes me upset. Remind myself that what she is saying isn't true. Go to my room after dinner for a break. Call my friend afterwards. Do a self-care activity afterwards. Now remember, at this stage, we're including all solutions, whether or not we think they would work or are a good idea. This is to strengthen our ability to problem solve. Now we must weigh up each solution and think about the reasons for and against doing it, asking yourself whether each solution is possible to do and what kind of outcome is likely from each can help you to assess which ones probably won't work or be helpful and which ones might. So solution 1, ignore her while she's there. Is this possible? Not really. For this solution, I wouldn't have to talk to her against it. I wouldn't stop her saying mean things. It might make things worse. Solution 2, confront her when she says mean things. Is this possible? Probably. For this solution, she might then stop. I would be standing up for myself. Against the solution, it might not help or might make things worse. Solution 3, go to my room after dinner. Is this possible? Yes. For this solution, gives me a break and some time to myself. I can do something nice to cheer myself up if needed. Against, my family might not understand why I want to do this. Solution 4, call a friend afterwards. Is this possible? I think so. For the solution, have a break from family time, talking to someone I like who is supportive. Against this solution, they might not be free. Hopefully, when you've gone through each solution like this, it will become clear which ones or might be helpful to try. It might be helpful to problem solve any problems you think might occur over the holidays in advance and come up with a plan to address them. So now we wanted to talk a bit more about loss and grief. At Sense 33, we understand that loss comes in many forms and doesn't always involve the death of a loved one. We also know that people experience and cope with loss in different ways, which is perfectly normal and valid. There's no right or wrong way to feel. However, it can be difficult to experience at any time of year, and it can be particularly noticeable and hard to cope with over the holiday season. And some people might be feeling quite anxious or sad about the upcoming holidays because of this. Therefore, we wanted to share some tips around managing difficult feelings and looking after yourself, which are primarily taken from the service Cruise Bereavement Support. So here are a few things that might help. Consider celebrating differently. You might not want to celebrate Christmas, and that's perfectly valid. Or you might want to celebrate, but perhaps think about doing it differently. Find a way that works for you and that you feel comfortable with. Find ways to remember people. If you want to acknowledge and remember someone, find your own way of doing this. Again, there's no right or wrong way. It's, however, is most helpful for you, and it's also okay if you don't want to actively remember them. Find a way to express your feelings. As we said, everyone copes with difficult feelings in different ways, and it's about finding a way that it's helpful for you. Now, dealing with loss and grief is very personal, so we don't want to tell you how to do it, but we would suggest that it's often more helpful in the long run to let yourself feel emotions in a manageable and healthy way rather than bottle them up. Try to keep up a routine. We've talked about the benefits of a routine on our mental health already, so I won't repeat myself. But just to add, using a routine to create a sense of structure, certainty, and familiarity for you may be helpful if you're having a tough time. Increase self-care. It's important that we look after ourselves generally, but this becomes even more important when we're going through a difficult time, particularly as we may not pay as much attention to ourselves and our needs. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself, take things one step at a time, and listen to what your body is telling you that it needs. And keep connected. I won't go into too much detail on this point as we cover it on the next slide. If someone is finding the holidays a tough time of year, they might start to distance themselves from other people for various different reasons, whether it's feeling down and not having the motivation to speak to people, not wanting to feel like a burden to others, like you're bringing the mood down, or not wanting other people to know that they're struggling. It might also feel like there is less support available at this time of year. But it can be even more important to keep connected with helpful and supportive people during this time. Speaking to others can give you an opportunity for support, for example, emotionally, through positive and enjoyable experiences. It can lift your mood, also as a distraction from how you're feeling, and a reminder that you're not alone. Think about who you can talk to over the holidays and make plans with them. Connect with people who share your values. Plan something nice to look forward to after Christmas. Maybe you could have a phone call with a friend at the end of Christmas Day, or arrange to meet up with them a few days later. You could perhaps plan some quality time with your sibling or cousin, whether that's over the internet, phone, or in person. Connecting with people who care, support you, and share your values can also help counteract any negative impact caused by spending time with people who aren't like this. Getting support. Many organisations and services have reduced hours or closures over Christmas and the New Year. The usual places you would go to for support might not be open, and this could very understandably be making you feel worried. So we wanted to finish today by making you aware of the places that are still open over that time and the services you can still reach out to. For mental health, if you need urgent mental health support over Christmas, you can contact the First Response Service, Samaritans, Childline for under 18s, Young Minds, Papyrus Hopeline, Calm, and Lifeline for over 18s. I suggest you kind of pause the talk now and take a picture of this, or kind of make a note of some of these contacts. In terms of other mental health support, the service Couve is open over the holidays, and they can provide one-to-one live web chat or text messaging support via their website. The website also has lots of mental health and wellbeing resources on it. Apps. There are also some apps you could download and use for self-help. Headspace is an app to support with mindfulness and meditation to help people reduce stress, relax, and build resilience. Calm Harm is a self-help app to support you resist or manage the urge to self-harm. Samaritan Self-Help is an app to help you keep track of how you're feeling and recommend things you can do to help yourself cope and stay safe. Think Ninja is an app for 10 to 18-year-olds with information and advice around mental health, emotional well-being, and building resilience. For eating support, the organisation BEAT, which provides support around eating issues and eating disorders, have their helpline open at the times on the screen there. The National Domestic Abuse Helpline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year. The organisation Switchboard have their LGBTQ+ helpline open from 10 AM to 10 PM. For non-emergency support around physical health issues, you can contact the NHS by calling 111. For any emergency support, obviously call 999. We also wanted to make those of you who already use or might need to use a food bank aware of changes to their opening times over the holidays. Food banks are places that provide emergency food and supplies to people in need. Our colleagues at Centre 33 can talk you more about food banks and how the process works and issue you with a voucher that you need to take with you to one of these locations. Other services and professionals can issue vouchers such as health visitors, social workers, doctors, or citizens' advice. The dates in bold are days where a food bank is open across Peterborough and Cambridge. And across Wisbech, Manchester and Ely. And across March, Haddenham, Chatteris, Waterbeach, Cottenham and so on. These websites also have lots of useful information and advice on what might be helpful to look at over the holidays. Again, pause the screen now and make a note of some of these services. And lastly, we just wanted to remind you about Centre 33's closure dates over Christmas 2021. Our frontline support closes on Friday the 24th of December, so the last day to get in touch is Thursday the 23rd. We reopen on Thursday the 6th of January, and you can always get in touch with us again in the usual ways, by phone, text, email, or coming to one of our drop-ins. Just to flag the change in our email address, we're no longer help@centre33, we're now hello@centre33.org.uk. So that's hello@centre33.org.uk. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. We hope that you found it helpful and have some tips to try to look after yourself in the holidays.